Okay, here's a question. What are some of your favorite European artists that you've grown to like? Before and after you do that, there's a connection I want to make about what you're talking before for music. So before I forget, we do have to talk about music because I didn't even think of that, but now that's something I want to talk about. Before we do that, could you answer the question about which European artists that you liked, that drew into the art?
So I think, well, it was our trip because we were going to Florence.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to Florence, you see, like, the most famous thing to see is, like, Michelangelo's David.
You've seen David?
I've seen him, like, yeah.
And you see
I was going to say in the flesh, it's in the marble.
In his marvelous form. And you've seen the chapel, the ceiling.
I have seen the Sistine. Have you seen the Sistine Chapel? I did see the Sistine Chapel, and I have that's another Michelangelo.
Holy shit!
God, I guess I really like him.
Well, they won't see.
I'll show it to the camera. Not that one. This one. I don't think you can.
They can see maybe with the light.
You can maybe insert like a little photo or something. But basically, it's Michelangelo's on the Sistine Chapel. It's the hands of Adam and God. But yeah.
What did you think when you saw that? What did you think when you saw that?
So.
What was your immediate reaction?
It was just awe.
Really?
Like, I think going to art galleries anywhere just make me feel so. So in awe. It's just like a feeling of bliss, you know.
Where do you think that comes from? That's so interesting to me.
God.
I have to say, damn, deep.
God.
You think there's that? What is that like? Do you mean like it's like a connection that we have innately with something when we see it, and that comes from God? What do you mean when you say that?
I mean, so I think what I was talking to you about, I messaged you about it yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a part of our brain called the DMN.
Mm-hmm.
Something modal network.
Yeah.
Dimodal network.
Yeah.
It might be wrong. Like, don't quote me on the name. But basically, it's a group of like very. So imagine your mind as a highway, and it's like a super highway of just neurons in your brain, of like all your memories, your experiences, literally your entire childhood, and it's responsible for meaning making. So it's the part of your brain where you derive meaning from things, and so that's active when people look at art that they like.
Wow. So
because
just art? Sorry.
Or hear music or read poetry.
So that's always activated. But does that mean everyone has that part of their brain?
Mm-hmm. And everyone's is different. It's literally what makes you an individual. And it's all like your consciousness is thought to be in this network in your brain.
Brains. What would you say yours is then? What would yours be? Obviously art, but what else gives you meaning?
What
else gives you meaning?
What else gives you meaning? I thought this was meant to be right in the end. How did we bump this up so much? What gives you meaning? So recently, what gives me meaning is my family, I think. And I don't know whether it's a coincidence that my family are very creative, very artistic. Like, I've got musicians, I've got artists, I've got lots of creativity all around me. So maybe that's why I enjoy art as a thing. That kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. I also think you need
What do you think, producer?
Go on, producer.
You got a creative hat.
I've got a creative hat. Yes.
And you made that hat, I think.
This is it's the first thing that I ever crocheted. So I'm proud of it, but it's cute.
I like that. That's cool.
I think it doesn't fall apart, so I did something right.
I would very much like a hat like that.
And
if I asked for one,
you're acting me on camera.
No, I'm just saying.
Okay,
like,
so I
it
have
looks very
I
nice.
have
I would like to
Jeffrey's.
buy one too, but
I have all the components, and I need to sew it together. But I haven't had time. Okay,
It's
life
fine.
gest busy, Jeffrey.
It's fine. We're just all here.
Your hat is coming. It's
Okay.
coming. It's coming.
Okay. I got it.
No, I promise. I need to. So, something that I need to do is intentionally
Yeah.
make art
Yes.
because I don't set aside time, and then I end up getting too busy with life, with just work and life.
Life. Then would you say then, as you get older, or like as you're being able to find out more about yourself,
Yeah.
your idea of art and that meaning that you have with that, it's now like you're realizing more and more how much meaning that brings to your life. Like that's becoming your meaning of life.
Yeah.
Was that what you would say? It's
Oh my
fascinating because
God.
I agree for myself too.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I want to go off that actually. Yeah, no, because the reason I segued into that and the reason I brought the meaning of life question up from before is because I feel like when we were talking about art, I could tell, and especially when you mentioned being in awe of the paintings, because I've never seen them, but I can imagine what it's like to just look at this thing where it's just magnificent, and then you're just like, holy shit, this is something someone created, you know, and it's like something that human beings created, and like that relationship you have with that, I could tell that that gives you a lot of like value, that gives you a lot of meaning, which is why I asked if you thought art was one of your meanings of life, because I'm starting to realize that with myself too. You know, like I feel like when I was a kid and I did football and I love football, and like no one can ever tell me that football is not a passion for me. But like the idea that doing something intrinsically made me able to find out more about myself, it wasn't like football. This is so much different. Like being able to create something, whether it's I write something or a poetry or like anything I create, right? Like the funniest thing, the craziest part is going back to it. It's not the me actually doing it, because when I'm doing it, I'm not thinking about doing it, I just do it. But then going back to it a few months later and be like, holy shit, is that what I was trying to say? And it's like I'm realizing this about myself, and like I know that for me that is so important in my life. No matter what I do, no matter where I go in my life, shit like that the ability to like have a feeling, be able to express that feeling, and let that feeling like explain something about yourself to yourself. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to be able to not have that outlet. If that makes sense.
Can I ask a question then?
Of course,
Sorry,
yeah, of course.
being cheeky. Do you feel like your poetry is like an equivalent of what visual art is, or what music is, you know, in telling a story?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like your poetry is part of your... Do you speak about your diasporic experience in your poetry? Yeah.
100%.
So it's all documentation. It's all
100%.
like... It's all your, like where I said earlier I would give advice to my younger cousin. You're making something which will reach a much wider audience than what my one piece of advice is doing. So you're doing it on like a larger scale. So
but it's not.
that's amazing.
First, like when we both do it, like at
Yeah.
the beginning of it, I'm doing it for myself. Like that's the craziest part. Like when I started writing, I did it to escape or to get the thoughts in my head out. And I've written poems about that, literally saying, started writing poetry, whatever, because I needed to get the whatever was things in my head that was going on, because I guess that's how my brain chose to like process what was going on around me. All of that had to be processed somehow. You know, it had to be processed outwards. You know, like I had to realize that to figure out how I was going to do that. And I'm very young, like literally, I remember like being 18 years old, and like feeling like, okay, I have to do something. Like there's so much happening in my life, I can't just spend all the time thinking about them. I have to think about them another way. How do I create something that can like make it present to it, make people understand, but like not just by telling them, you know, like something in a different way. And like for me, that was poetry, that was whatever else I chose to do at that time. Even podcasts, literally, it was the same thing, because I was like, you know what, I want to understand myself, let me talk to people, because that's easier, because then I can have conversations and then I can discover more about myself, because I'm having this interaction with people and like they're talking about themselves, and that made me think, oh shit, I can relate, you know. And so all these different things, like, and that's why I think meaning is so important in life, and like finding what your meaning is, or like even if you know it, you know, it doesn't have to be this thing where you just make it a business, but even if you know about it, you know, you can like have it there,
Do you feel like there was a point when you... Sorry.
It's fine. No, keep going.
Do you feel like there was a point when you figured out...
What it was?
When you figured this out, like when you had this realization?
It was a very distinct point, man. Because I remember, like, so when I was... How old was I? So, literally, after I finished uni, so before uni, all these things, I used to be an avid reader, but I never practiced anything creative. It was always just something I was just interested in, and I'd look at it from afar and be like, that's so cool, but I didn't embody it as a person, that wasn't who I was, right? And so, like, after I finished uni, got my business degree, I was in my first job, but I found myself in that job doing creative stuff. So, like, I'll be so bored, I'll start doing poetry on my little notebook at my desk, and I'd have no one to talk to, so I'll just be, I was losing my mind, because I was like, I can't be in this setting and not do anything creative. And I just found myself being terrible at my job because I just wanted to do creative stuff. So I ended up having to leave that job and go to my master's, and that's when I discovered it. It was just like a thought in my head at the time, because I still was like, I've never done it before. But, like, having that confidence to really just jump in and, like, put myself through that degree, because all I had that time, I was just time to, okay, you have this, like, inclination that you're a creative person, right? All I had was time to really just, like, develop that around people who had the same idea, you know, and also teachers who were, like, going to teach you, okay, if you have this idea, this is what you do about it. So, like, the master was crazy experience for me, because that's what made me really realize that with myself. Really, like, take me from an environment where I was like, I kind of want to do this, but I'm not sure, into actually doing it.
From your story, I'm realizing that you were in that... Would you say that the position you were in, because it was such an uncomfortable position, it pushed you towards your passion?
100%. 100%.
That's insane, because we're seeing it happen. I think with all of us, we're seeing things like that happen. Like with, am I allowed to mention Ella?
Yeah, of course.
Big up Ella.
Big up Ella. Ella's been on the podcast too. Big up Ella.
I'm so proud of Ella. Like, my God.
Yeah.
And being in an uncomfortable position pushed her towards her passion, and now...
Yes, exactly.
So I'm very excited.
Yeah.
But so, I know you've been not pushing this agenda, but telling me about this for a while. And like, oh, well, maybe the thing you're interested in is the thing that you should be doing. And I do try. I struggle to find time.
Yeah.
I really struggle to find time, but that's something also that you've made me aware of. Because you schedule everything in, like, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I need to take lessons, basically.
Yeah.
Like, this is, you know?
Yeah, you have to make
So
that
thank you. I
time.
appreciate you.
I mean, it's not
Thank
me.
you.
I think if you end up doing it, and that's what I say to people, if you end up doing it, it's because of your own interest, and your own interest in doing it is going to outweigh any doubt that you have about motivation, because that's what happened for me. Like, you talk about scheduling it, I had to sit there and be like, okay, I really want to do this thing, but I have no time to do it. Literally, I got full time. I got all of these things. Okay, what am I going to do? Okay, I actually have to plan it and put it into my daily
Type
life.
A personality.
Type A personality. I learned from the best. Can't mention it, but I learned from the best.
I wish I had a Type A personality.
But no, well, you say that now, but when you have a Type A personality, you're losing your fucking mind because, like, something was like, you know, and this. But anyway, but no, it was definitely that. It was definitely figuring out, okay, if I want to do this for seriously, I have to be able to put time aside to do it. And then, like, actually going out there and doing it, like, performing was crazy for me, because it's like, putting myself out there meant that I was now, like, responsible for other people. Not responsible for them, but, like, it was an expectation for me, you know. I have to turn up. But, like, even starting this podcast and saying I'm going to post once a week, it was a responsibility for me now. I have to turn up, you know. So it's like, even when I don't want to do it, because at the beginning, because it's hard to put motivation.
Man, you train your brain.
You train your brain.
You train your brain.
It's like you said about the highway thing, man. You know, we're only one highway to...
So the pathways that are, like, joined in your brain, that are formed, it's because of something called neuroplasticity, which is, for the longest time, I think, until maybe the mid, like, 1950s, maybe even after that. I don't know if it was like 1970s, maybe even 1990s. I cannot remember dates right now, But neuroplasticity, or the idea that your brain can change itself, is a very new concept. Because before we could do like surgeries and people thought, okay, your brain is like a lump of mush. It's unchangeable. That's it. As you get older, your brain deteriorates. And that's it. That's all there is. But there's something called neuroplasticity, in that if you make a connection, so you make a new habit, and if you repeat it enough times, a new neural pathway forms.
That's amazing.
And the old one kind of, because you're not using it anymore, it dies off.
So you can literally change your brain.
You can
through
literally
habits.
change your brain through habits.
Here's a
But you
question.
need to have the
motivation to
do it. Yeah.
Here's a question then.
Which is,
It's a beautiful segue.
Into talking about generational trauma and young. I feel like what you just mentioned is absolutely true. Like, I feel like we're having to develop new pathways and new habits different from what we were taught, because we are actually realizing the trauma, like we were speaking before. We're actually realizing the trauma of our parents and being able to deep that and see like how are we going to support them in that, and like actually realizing that means changing the habits, and changing the habits means doing those things very, very much differently, you know. But on the other side of that, we're fighting against this like collective unconscious idea about generations and generations of hardship, and how the culture itself has reacted to that. So talk to me about that. Talk to me about that union idea of like the collective unconscious, and how Africa has kind of like suffered from that almost, but also our ways of like creating new habits and new ways to actually like fight against that.
man, that's full circle, huh? That's full circle. That's what you do.
This is what I do.
This is art. This is art, Jeffrey. This is art.